All right, welcome to the Explainer. So today we're jumping into some incredible work by neuroscientist Daniel Levitin. We're going to tackle a huge question, one I think we all feel. Why does it seem like our brains are just so full all the time? And more importantly, what can we actually do about it? Okay, let's just start with a feeling one I bet is super familiar to you. Picture this. You walk in the door, you're juggling a bunch of bags, your phone starts buzzing, and then, like a minute later, you have absolutely no idea where you put your keys, right? We've all been there. And the first thing we think is, oh no, my memory's going. But here's the twist. That's not what's happening at all. The real reason we feel this way, well, it's because our brains are fighting a battle they were never designed for. I mean, just to put this into perspective, in a single month back in 2012, humanity created something like 5 exabytes of new data. Now, what does that even mean? It's an insane number. It's like taking every single word in the entire Library of Congress and multiplying it by 50,000. Our poor brains, they just weren't built for that kind of information tsunami. So this constant flood of information, it creates this state of, mental chaos. And that's what Levitin calls the overloaded brain. It's the reason why sometimes even the most simple decisions, like what to eat for lunch, can feel totally and completely exhausting. Levitin shares this really powerful story about a student named Ioana. She was from post-Soviet Romania, and she finds herself in an American bookstore, just trying to buy a pen, a simple pen, but she's completely paralyzed. And she says, look, in Romania, we had 3 kinds of pens. Here, there are more than 50. Now, obviously, this isn't really about pens. It's a perfect illustration of what psychologists call decision fatigue. It's this idea that having way too many choices can literally physically drain our mental data. And when we're hit with that fatigue, what do? We start treating our own minds, well, kind of like that one junk drawer everybody has in their kitchen. You know exactly the one I'm talking about, right? It's where you just toss everything that doesn't have a home. And the result? It's just a total mess. Our most important thoughts, our best ideas, they end up getting lost in all that clutter. So why the struggle? Why is this so hard? It's really important to get this. It's not because our brains are weak or faulty. Not at all. It's just that we're trying to run 21st century software on some seriously ancient hardware. Our brains were quite literally built for a different world. Levitin has this brilliant analogy for it. He says our brain is like an old house. Think about it. You don't build an old house from a perfect blueprint. No, you add stuff over time as you need it. Maybe you punch a new window in this wall, you bolt on a new heating system over there, and that's exactly what evolution did with our brains. It just kept adding new features for thousands and thousands of years, but it was never ever designed from the ground up to handle today's world. So what we're left with is a system that's full of these clunky, inefficient workarounds. And this old house design, it comes with a massive blind spot for the modern world. It's something called attentional blindness. See, your attention is an incredibly limited resource. So to cope, your brain just hides things from you. It actively filters out anything it decides is unimportant, even if it's literally right in front of your face. This was proven in that famous invisible gorilla experiment. You might have heard of it. People were told, hey, just watch this video and count how many times the players in white pass the basketball. Simple enough. But while they're focused on counting, a person in a full-on gorilla suit walks right through the middle of the scene. And the result is just mind-blowing. About half the people, 50%, did not see the gorilla at all. Their brain just edited it out, treating it like irrelevant noise. Okay, so this brings us right to one of the biggest, most persistent myths of modern life, multitasking. I mean, we act like it's a superpower, right? We put it on our resumes. But what the neuroscience shows, and what Levitin makes so clear, is that it's actually a trap. A cognitive trap that tricks us into feeling productive while we're actually doing more and achieving way, way less. All right, to get why multitasking is such a mess, you gotta understand that our brain basically has 2 main settings. Think of it like a light switch. First, you have your task-focused mode. This is your get-stuff-done mode for deep, hard concentration. Then you have your mind-wandering mode. That's for daydreaming, resting, and where a lot of creativity comes from. Now, here is the absolute key. They are a switch, a yin and yang. When one is on, the other is off. You literally cannot be in both modes at once. So the whole idea of multitasking, it's just an illusion. We think we're doing two things at the same time, but in reality, we're just switching our attention back and forth and back and forth really, really fast. And that switching, it comes at a massive cost. First, it jacks up your stress hormone, cortisol. But here's the insidious part. Every time you switch to check that email or text, you get a little shot of dopamine, a little reward. So you're creating this addictive loop where your brain is rewarded for losing focus. It's crazy. The end result is you're less efficient, you're more stressed out, and, get this, you actually store information in the wrong part of your brain, which makes it way harder to recall later. Okay, so our brains are ancient. Multitasking is a trap. It's starting to sound a little bleak, right? But what's the solution? What do we actually do? Well, it turns out to be one single, incredibly powerful idea that Levitin calls the offloading principle. And this is a game changer. The principle itself is so simple, but it is absolutely profound. Here it is. Stop trying to hold everything in your head. Just stop. The real key to having an organized mind is to take the job of organizing out of your brain and put it out into the world. Write it down, put it in your calendar, set a physical reminder, whatever you have to do to get it out of your precious mental real estate and into an external system that you trust. You know, this idea, it's actually at the heart of all great design. There's a cool term for it, Gibsonian affordances. It's a fancy way of saying an object's design should tell you how to use it, so you don't have to think about it. For example, a flat plate on a door just screams push, right? And a handle just says pull. You don't have to remember. The door does the remembering for you. And the big idea here is that we can design our whole lives that way. Okay, so how do we actually do this? Let's get practical. Let's look at a couple of really simple but powerful habits that create real freedom by getting organized. So check this out. The film producer Jeffrey Kimball, he knows his attention is a limited resource. So he offloads that mental checklist of, did I forget anything, into a physical habit. Every single time he leaves the house, he physically touches his pockets and says out loud, keys, wallet, phone, glasses. He's built an external physical system, a little ritual, so that his brain is freed up from that task. And it's not a new idea. I mean, the legendary psychologist B.F. Skinner was all about this. His advice was brilliant. Use your environment as your to-do list. So if the forecast says rain, don't just try to remember an umbrella. No, go put the umbrella by the front door right now. Need to buy milk on the way home? Put the empty milk carton on the passenger seat of your car. These physical things become these big, blinking, impossible to ignore reminders that take up zero mental energy. And this all leads to a really fascinating paradox. A total shift in thinking. Because we usually think of organization as the enemy of creativity, right? We think it's all about rigid rules and boring spreadsheets. But Levitin argues it is the exact opposite. He says creative people have the freedom to be creative precisely because they have systems in place to handle all the boring stuff. True organization doesn't kill creativity. It's the very thing that clears out the mental clutter and creates the empty space for new ideas to actually show up. So, at the end of the day, building this external brain, this system of offloading, it's not just about finding your keys faster. That's a nice bonus for sure. But it's about something much bigger. It's about consciously taking all that mental junk, all the to-do lists and reminders, and getting it out so you can make room. Make room for real insight, for deep focus, for genuine creativity. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. If your mind was finally free from the job of remembering everything, what would you have the space to create?